Hello and welcome to Game Tricks. I'm Matt and today I'll be talking you through my review of Streets of Rage 4. So without further ado, sit back and let's begin. Throw yourself back to 1994, or if you're too young, then just imagine a time before PlayStation had a grip on the gaming world. June, and Streets of Rage 3 releases to gamers worldwide to critical acclaim. Yet the series sank out of view after the release, only receiving re-releases in Sega collections. Jump forward to 2020, and who would imagine that after 26 years, a new installment would appear from the depths of the gaming universe? That's right, developer Lizardcube and co-developer Guard Crush Games, who, with publisher Dotemu, set about reviving the game series with a brand new sequel. The developers even went as far as reaching out to the old development team to join them to create the game. As a child of the 90s, I'm very familiar with Streets of Rage. It was a game we crazed over in my house, so it was a highly anticipated return of what feels like an old friend. The developers have lovingly crafted a brand new story to pit our protagonists against. Taking place a long time from the originals, our band of heroes take on Mr. X's offspring, the Y Twins. Having the team take on his children is a great way to expand on the plot and lore of the series, and also takes into account the real world duration between the sequel and its predecessor. I'm going to say it now, the game is incredibly fun to play. The formula has not been altered dramatically, and there are no groundbreaking genre changes here, but there is enough change to notice a difference and revitalise the series with new gameplay ideas, such as the massive inclusion of 4-player co-op and powerful new star abilities. Having 3 other friends join the beatdown action is a surreal experience that 10-year-old me would be very envious of. The game features returning favourite characters such as Axel and Blaze and makes a comforting return to the format, but new characters such as Floyd and Cherry are a welcome addition to give more variety and playstyle. As you would expect from a beat 'em up, the game progresses in difficulty the further you play through, leaning in on its arcade roots. There is a difficulty spike around a certain point in the game where enjoyment can become a little bit frustrating, but it's not enough to detract from the overall great experience. With a fresh new look to the game and feel, the current generation, trading in on the 8-bit look for a more cel-shaded comic book feel that's drenched in a neon aesthetic, the game is delivering graphic quality. From the very first hit you make, you can feel the weight of your attack rumble through your controller, almost as if your controller has pummeled through the air and hit your target directly. It's a great feel and gives far more immersion than I would have ever expected. The control scheme is practically identical to previous installments in the series, but there's a brand new dedicated interaction button for star power, which can cause massive damage to your enemies. And it's a nice new addition to the game, adding something more to your arsenal against the mobs of enemies that will try to swarm you. Controlling the game is quite simple, and inputs are as basic as button pressing and moving sticks. We'll be mashing a lot of buttons in quick succession, so that's something to be aware of. However, there were no standout problems controlling the game or navigating anywhere. There was the odd glitch that would cause the character not to grab an enemy or to give way to a free attack from your enemies, but nothing groundbreakingly bad. The game, however, does ramp up difficulty when you reach a certain stage of the game, and it can feel very frustrating trying to juggle mobs and swarming enemies with increasing skill and abilities, only to be defeated and have to restart the stage again and again. There are difficulty modes to help combat the game feeling too powerful, and assists that can help by adding more lives, but at the cost of a percentage of your points. I had to run through the game on easy mode on my first attempt to complete the game, as the spike in difficulty towards the end was crushing and was starting to take away some of the enjoyment from the game. But as I got my skills up higher, I did put the difficulty back up to normal. The dramatic change from the classic 8-bit style to the new cel shade and comic book graphic have certainly given the game a new lease of life. New visual effects easier to see and have more impact, such as glowing neon lights of the streets reflecting on the pools of water on the floor. It's a delicious new way to beat up bad guys, and seeing them taken down with almost comic book kicks and flicks really adds to the fun experience. The game can run at 4K and 60 frames per second and performs very handsomely. Loading is very fast, and when playing through I only encountered a few minor screen tears and situations where the game froze. I did have the game crash multiple times without any warning, but the developers were aware of that and they've been sending out fixes to work on those. The musical score of the game is where the game can really shine out. Composed by, and my apologies if I get this wrong, Oliver Derivari, and returning to the development team to assist is Yuzo Koshiro, Motohiro Kawashima, and Yoko Shimomura, to name just a few of them. Oliver composed the main soundtrack, but boss themes were composed by his guest composers. The combined work between them is glorious upon your ears, and each strong music fits perfectly with the setting they accompany, giving feelings of enriched culture to each unique area you fight through. The game doesn't look to create realism, knowing that the world they've created is not one of reality. The team has doubled down on sounds and it pays off in the best way. Hits have a dramatic sound when making contact and enemies yell out in pain, the only way dramatic villains can. The combined sounds and musical scores are one of the staples of this game and they complement the gameplay in the best way. There is a bonus feature in the settings to play the music from the original games and this is a great retro touch, but I would recommend you to play with the new soundtrack to fully immerse yourself in this brave new world to get the most out of the gameplay. One thing I can say for Streets of Rage 4, like all of its predecessors, is that it's not a very long game. I completed the main story in under 4 hours, but it isn't necessarily a bad thing, because these games pride themselves on replayability, and that is where the game shines through brightly. Fighting through the game can be fun with Axel, but if you are left with that question, can I do it with Blaze? What if I increase my difficulty level? With the added 4-player multiplayer co-op, adding infinite replayability, you will gain a different kind of challenge each time you decide to play through. You are encouraged to play more than once and unlock secret characters to add to your collection of playable heroes, and always be encouraged to beat your last high score. The formula is addictive and repetitive. It can wear off after a few hours of solid gameplay, and you can put in a few solid hours, but it's highly unlikely you will. The game is great for nostalgia or new players alike, and worth picking up if you haven't already, but I don't expect you to sink your whole life into it for the next 6 months. Overall, Streets of Rage 4 is an action-filled beat-em-up with endless replay value and easy to pick up if you have some time to kill and want something quick and fun to fill that gap. Offering small rewards for completing scored objectives and hidden characters is a nice addition, but still leaves you wanting a bit more. The new art style does the game justice on its triumphant return and has an incredible soundtrack to accompany it. The gameplay feels virtually the same as the original trilogy, and the story feels so short, there is very little in the way that will offer gamers who expect to dive deeper into the story. I would recommend this game to anyone who enjoys a good beat 'em up, as that's what it is, it's an absolute blast, and it's perfect homage to the 90s game series that we all loved, even if it does feel slightly dated.
Thanks for listening to this review. What do you think about the game? Do you feel any differently? If there's anything I missed that you can think of, be sure to mention it in the comments, and as always, be sure to subscribe for regular updates, videos and reviews right here in the Game Tricks.